did write a 374-page book that's very well documented that supports all this, and that's what Dr. Mary's Monkey is, and you can get it at 1-800-556-2012. Now, the point is, we've talked about the Russian missiles coming into Cuba. We've talked about why they had this linear particle accelerator set up on this secret facility in New Orleans, which is a U.S. Public Health Service hospital, which is a campus guarded by U.S. Marines. And this is in a building on the back of the campus that nobody really has a need to go to. And it's labeled the Infectious Disease Laboratory, just to keep out the casual traffic. And that is where they're doing the radiation. But what they are doing is they're taking these viruses and they're injecting them into mice to grow tumors. And this is a very common medical research practice. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of mice. And so they have to set up a facility where they've got 2,000 mice in cages. And because this is secret work, this is buried in the safe house in New Orleans. And one of the things I found was the location of this safe house, which just happened to be across the street from the residence of David Ferry, who was arrested by District Attorney Jim Garrison.
That's right.
Within 48 hours of the Kennedy assassination. And when his investigators went through Ferry's apartment, they found a treatise on using cancer-causing viruses to induce cancer. That was found in Ferry's apartment. It's in the National Archives today. I have a copy of that treatise in my book. Okay, it is very real, but David Ferry did not write it. That treatise was developed up at the National Cancer Institute, probably by Sarah Stewart, for reasons I explained in the book. So what they're doing is they set up this facility where the mice live. They've got a facility across the street at David Ferry's apartment where they take the mice, kill them, cut out the tumors, grind them up in a blender, make some microscope slides, put them back in the test tubes. They take all this back to a doctor to review. Then they take it all back to the U.S. Public Health Service for another round of radiation that ratchets up the lethality of the virus.
More. Okay.
And they do this as a loop. Now, in order to do this, you've got to have someone to handle the cancer-causing viruses. This is very technical and very dangerous work. And you don't really want somebody well-known to do this. You want somebody that's untraceable to do it, because if you get caught, you want to say, oh, that's ridiculous. They couldn't be doing that. And they actually have this girl in Florida who's very interesting, because when she was junior high school, she watched her grandmother die of cancer. And she decided to dedicate her life to finding a cure.
Okay.
And in high school, she starts doing her own cancer experiments. The thing is, she's got support from really sophisticated people in this. And by the time she's a senior in high school, she is giving cancer to mice in 7 days. This is faster than they're able to do it at the National Cancer Institute.
Was she a girl genius?
I think you'd have to. She was certainly dedicated. She's very, very bright. People use terms like that for those kind of people. So,
yeah.
But the point is, just luck and fate. The American Cancer Society turns out to have a meeting in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is the next town over from where this gal lives, and she goes and crashes the party and meets the VP of research for the American Cancer Society and shows him her research. And they now realize that they have a teenage girl working in a dirt floor laboratory in a high school that's outperforming the National Cancer Institute.
With no budget.
Yes. And they say, honey, you're coming with us. But before they do, this doctor in St. Petersburg, who's really from somewhere else, he's from New York, and he used to be the dean of the medical school at the University of Minnesota. His name is Deal. He picks up the phone and he calls his buddy Alton Ochsner, former president of the American Cancer Society, said, Alton, you got to get down here. I want to introduce you to this girl. And Ochsner goes down there and brings a third guy with him, and the three of them go with Judy back to her high school and look at her laboratory, and they say, oh, this is really amazing. And this part is in Judy's new book, not in Dr. Mary's Monkey, but it's all connected. They say, we got two things to tell you. One is we're shutting down your laboratory today. You got no idea how dangerous this is. And
right. So they have the grounds to do that.
Yes, and you're dealing with immensely powerful people like the president of the American Cancer Society and his buddy that he brought along with him, who was Harold Urey, who was in charge of the Manhattan Project during World War II.
So they had some heavy hitters there.
Heavy hitters, and they say, this is so dangerous, you can't even believe what you're doing. You're playing with fire. We're shutting it down, but you, young lady, are coming with us, basically. I mean, we're going to train you, because we see you as a weapon in the war against cancer. And they set her up to go up to Buffalo, New York, to the Roswell Park Cancer Institute up there, where she is trained to handle cancer-causing monkey viruses. At this point, you realize that the leadership of the cancer establishment are all aware of the contamination of the polio vaccine. And they got some real serious questions about it. And they like the fact that they have this girl prodigy who is capable of doing all this advanced and sophisticated research that does not have any degrees, is even a minor at this time, and nobody knows who she is. So these guys can conduct research that they don't want to tell anybody they're doing and get the answers to it so they can figure out what's going on with this cancer stuff. And so she's at the University of Florida in 1963, and she gets a phone call from Dr. Ochsner in the spring of this, and Ochsner says, well, how would you like to skip the last 2 years of medical school, the last 2 years of college, and start medical school in the fall? By the way, we'll pay your tuition and give you room and board and a stipend. We just have a little project we need you to do this summer. And by the way, you'll be working under the wing of that hotshot cancer researcher from Chicago that's on my staff, Mary Sherman. Would you like to do this, Judy?
And, of course, Judy jumped at it.
Judy jumped at it. It's her dream job, okay? So on April 19th, 1963, Judy gets on a bus in Gainesville, Florida, and she heads to New Orleans for the summer. And what her job is she is the one that is to kill the mice, cut out the tumors, grind them up, prepare the test tubes and the slides, and do all this in a clean sort of situation, but all in secret. And this work is all done in the kitchen of David Ferrie.
In his kitchen?
In his kitchen.
Now, is she still convinced that she's trying to cure cancer and do something for the good of mankind?
Well, for the good of mankind. See, when she gets there, she gets informed that Castro has these nuclear missiles, and he's trying to start World War III. So in order to stop World War III, they really need to figure out how to weaponize this cancer so somebody can take out Castro and prevent World War III. This is the line that she is fed there.
It's the old patriot, make her feel patriotic, right?
That's right. And they've been doing it all along with her, and she's been signing loyalty oaths, and the military has been supplying her. We got letters from Walter Reed and all this stuff to her saying, here are the chemicals and all this stuff. She is being supported by the most powerful people in the country in this, and by the military. And she's an asset. I mean, just like they say in the intelligence business, she's an asset. And she's now in New Orleans. They find her an apartment. They give her a cover job. And while she's on the clock at the cover job, 2 afternoons a week, she goes over to the secret laboratory to do this cancer work. And there's three things you can say about this gal. First of all, she's brilliant. Secondly, she's beautiful, because we got photos of her. And thirdly, she gets lost going around the corner. I mean, she's 19